Hi everyone, I am Hita Unnikrishnan. I am an assistant professor at the Institute for Global Sustainable Development based out of the University of Warwick in the UK. I'm also visiting faculty here at Azim Premji University. And today I'm in conversation with Dr. Sudhira, who's a convener of Gubbi Labs, which is a research collective operating out of Karnataka. And I've known Sudhira for quite some time, back when I was, trying to figure out what research meant. He's seen me at my worst and he's seen me at my best. So we've also collaborated with him over a paper which is published in the International Journal of Urban and Regional Research that basically traced out the route of the first pipeline that was laid out in Bangalore. So it's lovely to actually be sitting and talking to you in person after very long also, right? I don't think you've spoken since 2011 or something. In person, probably.
Perhaps.
Yeah, so it's lovely having you here. So thank you so much for making it.
Good. Thank you. It's been a pleasure. It's been a pleasure to being here.
So I thought I'd just start a little bit with your motivations to getting into what you're doing in a certain sense. So, but you do have a PhD in urban planning. And how did you sort of then transition from core urban planning kind of work into the kind of work that you do, which is more community engaged and also, just making it's a different strand of urban spaces, right? That urban planning traditionally doesn't look at. So how did you do that? What's the motivation for it?
A long story. Again, with my sort of formal training, my undergraduate has been in engineering. And then I did a master's in geoinformation science and earth observation, pretty much to do with GIS and sports sensing and all of it. And part of my thesis, I was looking at, how do you simulate urban growth and stuff like that. That's when, I guess way back in 2004, I started using agent-based models to simulate urban growth. And that's what I was trying to play with. And that sort of excited me then. And ended up getting into a PhD in Institute of Science. And IISc being IISc, I was like a joint student with Department of Management Studies and Center for Sustainable Technologies and with another advisor in the ecological sciences. So it was like IISc now has this interdisciplinary courses, so sort of things, but back then it didn't. So we were asked to take core courses in all the key departments I was affiliated with. And being IISc and within the Faculty of Engineering, you end up doing courses which are quant heavy than looking at these. But thanks to my advisors, I had the freedom to kind of pursue the research interest that I had to look at urban planning and stuff like that. So I ended up doing that, and almost at the end of it, right about I guess about 6 months to about a year before I was about to submit. So the then Commissioner of Bangalore City Corporation, Mr. Jairaj, was visiting IISc and he gave a talk on urban issues and management and all. Around that time, I was also trying to see if I can get an internship at BDA, which was into planning.
That's Bangalore Development Authority.
That's Bangalore Development Authority. And I was very unsuccessful in making any headway into BDA. Thankfully, Jairaj was there, and so I kind of nudged him, and after some perseverance, he finally agreed that I could get in as an intern at City Corporation. And that was an interesting time because JNNURM had been just rolled out, the Jawaharlal Nehru National Urban Renewal Mission with the Government of India. And they were also figuring out what to do and things like that. So very reluctantly, I think Mr. Jairaj agreed to take me as an intern and asked me to go around and look at all. So I kind of came up with a laundry list of things, like some 20 things that an intern could do at the City Corporation. And then said,
you came up with that list?
Yeah.
Wow.
Like 1 week, I was allowed to sit in all the meetings that he was chairing because one day he would be sitting on education, second day he would be sitting on waste management, then sometime on traffic and something on property registration, then some legal cases. So a bunch of things. So it was an eye opener for me, but then I ended up attaching myself with the JNNURM Sen and working with 2 other folks there and all of that. But then I did some report on enhancing traffic in Bangalore City Corporation, and by the time I finished my internship, so there was also thing going on reorganization, and the state government decided to extend the City Corporation to Greater Bangalore City Corporation, Bruhat Bangalore Mahanagarpalike. So from 225 square kilometers to 741 square. So I was also in the thick of things. I was like attending those meetings, proceedings with the state government, principal secretary chairing those and stuff like that. So I had a sense of what's happening within the bureaucracy, the political tensions because the council was not active, what are going on, what happens when somebody calls for an expression of interest, what happens when you do an RFP, what happens when you do a pre-feasibility, who do you engage for a DPR, things like that. These were all things that I kind of had to quickly learn on the things as an intern.
Yeah.
And so I kind of finished up with my internship and then wrapped up my thesis with the realization that bulk of the theory and models that I'm trained to are good on this side of the academia. And for anything of this to kind of translate into reality, there is a whole world out there that I'm not aware of.
Right.
So that prompted me to kind of spend more time with the government on trying to understand. Aside, in my past life, I was also a bit of an activist. As in, around the same time while I was at the state government, like with city corporation and all, I also used to volunteer with Hasiru and we had our share of activism with Hebar and Nagavara or a bunch of things.
Yeah.
So I was also coming from that perspective as well. And so after my PhD, when I submitted my thesis, I didn't want to kind of take up any sort of academic things in the sense do a postdoc or elsewhere and all of that, but wanted to really understand how the system works, how it works. Because it was kind of for me, the urge was that I don't know a lot of what is going on.
Right.
And thankfully, there was some opportunity at the urban development department where I could get in as a specialist consultant on land use and transport. So, which is something that I did technically or I knew of technically, and that gave me a window to kind of work with the state government for a year and a half to discover how things work. And that has given me great perspective on urban governance at large, as to really looking at how decisions are made, who does what, where things stop, where things start, who initiates, what happens with the funding, how a certain minister can be simply eyewashed for during a pre-budget meeting. Bunch of things. I've seen it all. As in, I've also like in the past work, right? As in, I've also seen how if the collective of the senior bureaucratic leadership takes to a certain stance, how they can also close on certain things very effectively.
Right.
Like the airport connectivity. So there was a high-level task force to airport connectivity under the chairmanship of an additional chief secretary. And all the bureaucrats from across, like not only the state government, but also national highways, railways and all of them, across worked seamlessly to ensure when the new international airport in Devanali was being launched, they would make sure everything was in place, at least from the road connectivity. So they did show that sort of thing that when things they want to do, they would do, but there are things that they don't want to do, things won't do.
It's also a question of priorities, I suspect, right? Because the international airport is a highly visible symbol of the city. So
it was a sort of a flagship thing that everybody was kind of worried about, right? From the senior state leadership to everybody in the state, and they were looking at it. But so there are like those moments where you see that, things can work, and there are moments where you see there are things that needs priority is not prioritized.
Right.
Yeah. So kind of I got a sense of it, and then one of the things that I was also doing around that time was also I guess 2009-10 still enamored by my past training at IISc. One of the courses I ended up auditing was on game theory. No, that's the flexibility you get at IISc.
Yes, I mean we've been looking at game theory with a colleague as well, and it's it's interesting.
Yeah. So because it so happened that Professor Narahari, who taught game theory, was one of my comprehensive examiners as well.
Okay.
And he, like when I had to defend my thesis in front of a panel, so he was one of them, and I kind of knew, or he knew me as well. And so while I was doing this internship, I also was trying to audit a course at thankfully it was only audit, as in I had to submit any assignments. But it did give me a sort of eye-opener and perspective and looking at what are the things, and then there is something called as mechanism design and stuff like that. So while I was still working in the state government, that also allowed me to kind of reflect and look at what is happening. And I wrote a paper looking at, like I'm still interested in modeling and looking at urban governance. So one of the things that came up was the applying Hirschman's exit voice loyal theory.
Okay.
And basically, and then also came up with a iterated prisoner's dilemma case where I had different actors instead of your traditional prisoners. I had residents, businessmen, parastatals and the elected representatives. And back then, elected representatives were nil. So I kind of looked at it, and the options that they could have was like either be loyal, voice, or exit.
But these are 2x2 games, right? Prisoner's dilemmas.
The conventional prisoner's dilemma is a 2x2. So I can make a extension of it.
Okay.
And you can also make it iterative.
Oh, okay.
So I kind of came up with that, and then discovered that I ran those through the models and discovered that you will need a significant amount of residents to voice for the existing setup to kind of actually respond to and give services better.
Yeah.
And it seemed that if the businesses influence the government more, so they have a better payoff.
Yeah.
Then, but beyond a point, the business also, when you see the residents leaving out, they will also kind of push the government to kind of form parastatals.
Yeah.
So that's something that I realized, and also it kind of struck me that one needs to really connect with the place, and like if you're voicing. So and then incidentally, my paternal native is Gubbi, where I live now. Although my maternal native is Bangalore, as in I was born in Bangalore, and my maternal side grandmother lived on Subedar Chatram Road, right opposite the Tanama temple.
Yeah.
You have this Ramakrishna Lodge.
Yeah.
Apparently, the place where you have the Ramakrishna Lodge belonged to my maternal ancestors.
Interesting.
So, my for me, summer holidays was Bangalore, and otherwise I was in Gubbi during till class 7th or so. But I ended up also studying in different places. So around 2010, I realized that I spent more than half of my life studying elsewhere, and that's when I decided to go back to Gubbi. But having been there, we kind of also discovered that I had varied interests, as in, and no one place will actually fit me, as in, to really do all the things that I will do. Because I've been working on education, I've been working on ecology, I've been working on a bunch of things on urban. And even in the urban, I was looking at mobility, looking at solid waste, name it. So everything, because coming from planning side initially, so you tend to look at everything. And so it seems like, like I was there, like literally spread too thin in a way, but I think I really dug deeper in some of those aspects as well. So, and the key reflection was that no one place will actually fit me, as an, or I wouldn't fit in any one place. So that's when I kind of...
So where did the interest in history come about?
History has always been there of, sort of interest, because during my work on the part of my thesis, like one of the chapters I wrote was on Bangalore.
Okay.
And
that was the cities paper. Yes, that is our like frame of reference for. Yeah.
Yes. So the 2007 cities paper was my third chapter in my thesis. So around that time, I had also kind of discovered that Buchanan was here, and a bunch of history, and like even the Begur thing and all of that. So it kind of presented all of it. But so it was kind of, it was useful to know what has happened. And the popular narrative that, Kempegowda built the fort here. But if you read the book on Kempegowda by Professor M.V. Krishna Rao, who was the president of Mythic Society as well, he states that his wife and his mother came from a village called Bengaluru. And of course, we have evidences to show that, Bengaluru, as it is, was a village or settlement long ago. So, the popular narrative that Kempegowda founded Bangalore is something that one could really relook at it, because his wife and mother also came from the same village.
Right.
And that's
when you look at marriage traditions here, even now, right? I mean, when I've done oral histories around Bangalore, they never tell you that they married their child to someone in Bangalore itself. It will be ee halli in the aa hallige kalsidare. So it is basically sending the girl from this village to that village, even if it is within Bangalore. So that's very ingrained in theirs.
True, because Kempegowda was in Yelahanka.
Yeah.
And largely they were settled around Yelahanka, and he would come here, and then that's how he felt this place was nice for building a fort, and there is a lot of history around that. So I come across some of these, and I was always kind of fascinated. The other thing that also fascinated is Buchanan, when he visited, he had also visited Gubbi, and there's a half a page thing that what was there in Gubbi and stuff like that. So, and then there were a bunch of other things, and Gubbi also has a Wesleyan church that was built in 1904, and Reverend William Arthur. So he ended up writing a book, and there's a book he wrote in 1847, giving you things. So with a bunch of things, also like, always gives you perspective on looking at. So that's when around that time, I kind of, when you're looking at planning, right? So you're not just looking at, like from a PhD thesis perspective, it was more of simulating future land cover or what will happen to the future of the city in terms of planning. But that also kind of spun around in the sense to look at
What was?
history. So I got interested to look at origin and evolution of cities. So in fact, even in my PhD thesis, I start with human social organization.
Right.
As in why as humans we started evolving, and then what are the different stages of human social organization, to look at, from hunter-gatherer to initial settlers, and then the initial kingdoms, and then post-industrialization, what happened, and how things have changed in the last couple of 100 years and things like that.
Interesting.
So that has always been fascinating for me. And so certainly, like, apart from the literature that you kind of end up reading, there's also this physical infrastructure that at times you end up, bumping into, and then you start looking at what happens. And also as a mapping person, right? And occasionally wherever you are and you find something that is written BM or GTS, that is like your all ears and your all senses are up. We ended up discovering some of them, like
the Great Trigonometrical Survey.
Great Trigonometrical Survey. So these are benchmarks of the Great Trigonometric Survey, for which Bangalore was one of the locations.
One of the locations, the Trinity Church thing, right?
Yeah.
But also then that sort of takes us neatly into this thing of what you do with everyday infrastructure. So electricity, pipelines, those kinds of work.
Yeah.
And so I thought I'd start by asking you, what does that heritage mean to you? Because it's a very different conceptualization of heritage also, in a certain sense, right? Something that you don't it's often overlooked when you think about heritage, when all these things that are around us that have historicity to them, but we don't engage with it in that sense.
Yeah.
So I was just curious to know what your thoughts are on that.
Yeah. So I guess when you kind of bring in that notion of sort of the perspective on heritage, right? As in, it's also like how one views it in the current.
Yes.
Like at this point of time, how as citizens or as residents,
what the value we
are attaching, and what is the perspective that you are seeing? Because I've seen that different points of time, the same thing can have different perspectives. As in,
like, give some examples. I don't know.
For example, I guess if I can move away from Bangalore to look at Hampi, for examples. Hampi, for example. So one of the unfinished work that I have I was talking to Mr. Mohan Rao, who's also working on this, is the site exploration at Hampi that you see today is based on the road that travels through, like, the Sri Krishna temple precinct. Now, that's not the actual way of experiencing the site of the Hampi city, because the roads, the metal road that you see today was built in 1880s.
Right.
And it doesn't, so not necessarily should have gone through the Sri Krishna temple precinct. But like, if you look through the literature and start of digging through, there are different entrances, or called dwaras as they are called. So there was one dwara called Bhiman Dwara in the east. And there's one more dwara that should have been there, but that is now submerged to, reservoir. But Bhiman Dwara in the east is the sort of the entrance. And from there you start entering the city from the east. And then there are a couple of temples. You navigate through that and walk past, and it will lead to in front of the market area, in front of the Sri Krishna temple. So the site exploration, what should have been is kind of different. So now today, those of us who go to Hampi will go through this Lotus Mahal and go through the road that is there, and then we think that is how the city is. Unfortunately, that is not how one should experience the city, as in. So we call that as restoring historical pathways, as in, and basically trying to see how it was experienced. So that's where I come from, that how one experiences in the current, in the present, right? As in terms of heritage. Now coming back to Bangalore, right? As in looking at it, I think what people in the city now look at of any water or electrical infrastructure, right? So there's a lot of things here, as in primarily, I guess, for multiple reasons. Of course, if I can go back again through a bit of history, right? Bangalore has always been sort of the commercial center, as in, right from Buchanan visited in 1802 and all of that. And he writes that every coin that was possible, like in trade, you can find it in
Bangalore,
Bangalore and stuff like that. So, but Bangalore had already lost in 1792, and post 1799 when Tipu
lost
it was completely under their control. Now, during that period as well, so there was a lot of things that were happening. As in fact, there is also somewhere literature that says, so if you look at Bangalore cantonment was established in 1808. It took almost 9 years for the British to set up a cant in Bangalore. And initially, British, from their town planning principles, wanted to establish a cant with which has a good access to water, which was near Mysore or Srirangpatna.
Right.
But Srirangpatna, wherever they were camping, had a lot of malaria incidences and all of it. So they continuously postponed it, and they found that wherever they were settled in near Bangalore as cantonment, or what is now cantonment, was a suitable place.
Right.
So they then established cant in 1808. It took a while for that.
Yeah.
And then 1831, the British took over the administration. Until 1881, it was with the British. And during then, a lot of things happened. So there are also notes of, if you look at the sort of the cultural, heritage like Lal Bagh, for instance, that is something that is now ascribed to Hyder and Tipu. There is also some reference that says even Kempegowda's family had also set up something called as Hudota and something like that. So gardens have been there, and if you again look back to the community who were around it, like Tigla community and all, they have been very good at gardening and particularly managing any horticulture crops and stuff like that. And that community has always been here. So I think it was natural for them, like for any administrator or whoever was ruling, to kind of take over that. And I guess subsequently, irrespective of change in regimes, from Wadayas to Hyder Ali or even the British, and again back to Wadayas, it's all kind of seamlessly continued. And that seemed to be there. But something else happened around, I guess, post 1870s and 1880s was with the water infrastructure. Because Kent was there, British settlements were there, and also the old Pete area was also there.
Yeah.
People wanted to kind of depend on water, like particularly, and then there was this 1898 plague also that kind of disturbed a lot of the city.
Plague, cholera, a lot of things.
Yeah, a lot of things. But thankfully, I guess Sir Sheshadri Iyer, I think one of the best bureaucrats I've come across. He initiated this pipeline thing for the city initially, which also got extended to the Kant areas. So in 1894, there was a small dam built across Arkavati in Hesarghatta, and they started drawing water, and that was the first pipeline that came across from Hesarghatta till the low-level reservoir next to the racecourse. So for those of you who want to go, like next to Khanija Bhavan, you can walk past and you can see this low-level reservoir there, which is like the remnant, one of the remnant, I guess, historical things in the city, and particularly on water infrastructure. Yeah, there's also a small stone plaque that says Raghav Charlu. It is in memory of the previous Diwan, who was also Sir Sheshadri Iyer's mentor. So so things like that. So that, I guess, on that pipeline itself, we have a paper.
We do.
Yeah, so that talks about the entire thing as to what we have looked at across and things like that. So there is this whole thing, and then beyond the pipeline also, I guess, even when Sir Vishweshwaraya was the Diwan, he was also keen to develop or sort of
Electricity
and water infrastructure, even in Jog.
Even in
Jog.
Okay, Jog.
Yeah. So he was keen on pushing for more energy infrastructure as well, and he was disappointed that the Maharaja didn't give him a go-ahead for starting the Mahatma Gandhi, what is now the Mahatma Gandhi hydroelectric power project.
Right.
He was disturbed with that, and because thanks to Sir again Sheshadri Iyer, we had the Shimsha power project that got started off. There's another paper on that with Vanessa that we wrote to look at the water and energy nexus.
Yes.
And where we kind of also try to document what has happened in the whole course of things. And that's a very nice thing to look at. But the point is, when after Shimsha, right? So we were at some point like a power surplus, and the state had to think of ways how people will start consuming power. and the state ended up creating different institutions like the Mysore lamps because they wanted people to have devices.
Right.
So Mysore lamps happened, and then at some point they were importing certain transformers from Germany, and they were not sure like if it is a viable thing. So the Maharaja decided, okay, let's set up something that will become this insulators for the transformers and all of that. So they ended up setting up a unit
Right.
right opposite IISc, which is now the electro-porcelain division under the BHEL.
Right.
Right. So you see that BHEL EPD there, right opposite IISc campus.
Yeah.
That's one of the remnant institutions that was created by the Marwadis, as in
Right.
it was sort of, you can think of an early initiative of import substitution that the Wadiyars thought of, or thanks to some of these divans there.
Yeah.
I think Sir Mirza Ismail was phenomenal there.
Yeah.
So things like that. In fact, then you had the sandalwood soap factory.
Soap factory, yeah.
And bunch of things all around IISc, because it was also sort of IISc was there and things kind of culminated around.
Yeah.
I guess it was only like in terms of power infrastructure, right? Around 1938, they wanted to expand Shimsha power thing, and they had agreed. But 1939, there was the Second World War.
Yeah.
So things got stalled, and until 1945, nothing much moved. And they had also around the same time simultaneously approved for harnessing power at Jog Falls.
Jog Falls, yeah.
So there was a initial dam that was built, and to draw water from there, and there was a hydroelectric power station that was built. There's a bit of trivia there. I may be digressing a bit.
Oh, go for it.
It so happened that 1948 at Jog Falls there, things were ready and it was all set for inauguration in February.
Yeah.
And as you know, 1948, January 30th, Mahatma Gandhi was shot.
Yeah.
And so the entire state, as in the country, was in a state of mourning. So they couldn't do sort of all the initial thing was had to be stalled. And the power plant was called Jaichamarajendra Hydroelectric Power Project.
Yeah.
So the king then said, let's not name it under us and let there be no fanfare. Let us go for it. Let's have a very low-key affair and let that get started. So, and they renamed the whole thing as Mahatma Gandhi Hydroelectric Project. So till date, what you see at Jog Falls is the Mahatma Gandhi Hydroelectric Project that was started in 1948.
It's interesting. Very interesting. Yeah.
And then there was this power lines that comes down.
Yeah.
And around that time, I was also like, commuting around and traveling to Bangalore and all. So after Pina, around Pina, like right after Pina, you have a bus stop called SRS. You know what SRS is?
No.
SRS is Sharavati Receiving Station.
And you have a lot of bus companies that are also called SRS in the region.
No, but there is a bus stop called SRS because it was meant to be Sharavati Receiving Station. Because that was also set up around 1948, and there was another substation in Rajaji Nagar, and Rajaji Nagar was just being set up.
It was an extension,
It was just inaugurated around that time, and so SRS was the first substation where power would, through high tension wires would come from Linganmakki or Sharavati and come here. That's why it was called SRS. But the bus stop still remains.
Right.
It's still called SRS.
Right.
Of course, it doesn't play a significant role as it was back then, but it's still there.
Yeah.
And then it was to come to larger Nagar and power distribution happened.
Yeah.
And so things like that. So there are a lot of historical things within the city that are kind of
subsumed by.
Yeah. Yes.
And the more you're talking, the more I'm seeing actually there's a lot of those everyday infrastructure that is historical, that is in front of us as we walk through the city, and we don't really pay attention to it.
True.
It's fascinating, that whole story. Also coming back to your thing about water thing, as you were talking about the first pipelines, right? One thing that when we write about Bangalore's water history, we always talk about long distance water transfers and how it started off from, utilizing the existing tank system, then Sankey building his Sankey's Folly, which is what we call Sankey's tank.
Yes.
No, it is called Sankey's Folly at some point because nothing worked around it. None of the channels worked.
Yeah.
And then after that, going further and further from Hebbal and then further north towards different water sources. And I think this is the first time that they actually made use of a long distance pipeline, right?
Yeah.
That took water from the Arkavati to reach the cantonment.
Yes.
Yeah. So how did the idea of just walking that stretch come about?
Okay, so that's an interesting one because so around the time I finished
Yeah.
PhD, and after that I had a chance to work with the BDA, as in
Huh.
there was this proposal, or there was this effort to make a revised master plan for 2031 around 2012-13, and I was helping them write the TOR because they had lost that previous TOR.
Nice.
So while I was helping that, and I had a chance to look at the maps again and all of it, and whenever you see maps, right, the first thing most of us would do is we'll try to familiarize with things that we know first.
Correct.
And try to look at it.
Correct.
And one thing that happened was like outside IAC, like Circle Marama entrance, the BDA master plan then showed a diagonal road between the Ammani College and the Tumkur Road.
Right.
Which for various reasons I knew that didn't exist, or in my imagination didn't exist. But on the map it showed it is a throughfare road as in diagonal. And I was like curious, where is this road? I haven't seen. And then you start looking at it, and then you discover there is sort of a gate or a compound now that is put up, and that seemed to be a road. And then you start looking at it, and on the map you discover there is something like a pipeline road. And then you see what is this pipeline road, and then like kind of seems linear. And then like if you look through down that, it cuts across Malleshwaram, goes to Sheshadripuram, and then goes somewhere, and in between there are some patches it is not there. But then if you start looking at northwest, it sort of goes around Yeshwantpur and then goes past this Yesurgata and stuff. I was kind of curious, what is this? So that was one of the initial starting points, because on the map, if you start looking, it's sort of very linear. And then it also occurred that at some point you would have actually walked through that or moved past, but you wouldn't have
parts of it especially.
Parts of it, but you wouldn't have really noticed.
Yeah.
And then, so that's when like sort of, wanted to actually look at it. And then Vanessa was there and got talking to Vanessa and also told like, look, there is this pipeline road that we seem to be there, and it is still there.
Yeah. This is Vanessa Castran-Brotto from the University of Sheffield.
Yes.
Yeah.
So with Vanessa that got started off, and like she jumped on it and said, yeah, let's do this. And she came down and ended up walking across. So, and it was a nice discovery for us as well. Although like, parts of Malleshwaram and all, we kind of knew it because back from IAC, it was always there and you had seen that. And even parts of Yeshwantpur. Because if you could take a train from IAC to Yeshwantpur railway station, you would cut across that pipeline road, and you'd never imagined, or like all through until you discovered that the pipeline road existed. Exactly. It seemed there, but not there. Yeah. So it was really fun. It's fascinating, and we started looking at it from low level reservoir all the way up to Hisargata to see how it has changed, like what has happened and what remains. But so one key thing that I can talk about there is that initially, right, like you pointed out, the original imagination was to draw water from like Hisargata to Bangalore to supply water to the city. As it stands, water comes from Kaveri, as in no longer there is a greater reliance on water from Hisargata. So the direction has changed now. In the sense, water is drawn from Kaveri, comes to low level reservoir. It's kind of pumped towards Malleshwaram and northwest part of Bangalore, where BWSP is supplying water. So the direction.
Also strange, right? That the city pumps water upstream.
Yes, it is unfortunate. So that's where it kind of sort of comes in now, and also the thing that as we moved around, right, as in you had this sort of infrastructures like being there for over 100 years, but there have been localities around without access to that water. So what we try to argue there is that how certain imaginations of urban water infrastructure or urban infrastructure at large itself can create inequalities, as in how that has crept in, and how do we look at it?
That people live with the presence of something that's supposed to provide water, but are deprived of the water that it provides.
In fact, places like Jalhilli or even Kirloskarli beyond the Hisargata main road there and all are only getting BWSSB water now.
Recently,
More recently, very recently. Like
I have friends in Jalhilli who were telling me this. Yeah.
like only in the last couple of years. Although that pipeline sort of has been there since 1894.
Yeah. No, so, I mean, just curious, and I guess this is also going a bit off tangent, but I'm curious did you come across any archival material that justified why these areas were not supplied? At least some of those places have no connection with what you think of as urban Bangalore, but there are also places on the periphery of what used to be colonial Bangalore
Yeah.
on the trajectory of that pipeline,
Right.
but were kind of excluded.
Yeah, so there were places. I think that was the early things of how access to water became a thing of
Privilege.
and your disposable income, as in the sense. So there is this thing that I think we came across is particular notification, or there is sort of narrative that kind of tells us that people were unable to get water, and so who all should get water was the key question.
Oh, wow.
And so because pipe water supply was limited to like a certain distance and all of that, so they ended up creating a map saying, okay, only this people in this region can be supplied to water, and it will be treated as an experimental thing, and beyond that we'll kind of extend this after a while. But those who are within this region should be sort of pay a tax for it. So those who couldn't afford couldn't really get this water.
Yeah.
So it was only it became a question of affordability and all of that. So the sort of upwardly mobile upper middle class and high income folks were the ones who were able to afford this. But there was a significant marginal population that kind of significant population who were marginalized because of that.
Yeah. And that has continuities even today, right? Like if you think about, so when I first met you, you were an external advisor for this project that we were doing with Center for Education and Documentation on the vulnerability of informal settlements to climate change. I have no idea how we manage to separate out climate change and urban spaces in Bangalore because it's almost virtually inseparable. But one of the things that we did find during that was even when the state supplied water to these informal settlements, there was often a quality issue there, as in either the pipeline or the water that was supplied. More end of the story, they basically had either discolored water or water that had maggots or worms wriggling about and so on. Whereas affluent neighborhoods just next to those places like Kormangla, the economically weaker section society, and Kormangla, the National Games Village part, there's a world of difference in the quality of water that these people get.
Yeah.
And so there are continuities to what you just described in that sense. Yeah.
True. So that's also like with respect to who got access to this piped water.
Yeah.
So in the sense, bulk of the piped water supply, like if you see again, one of the other heritage things that is there in Malleshwaram is the jewel filters.
Jewel filters, yes.
So that was the key place where all the like Hesarghatta water, like water from Hesarghatta used to come, but also water from TG Halli, because after Hesarghatta they ended up building another structure at Simgodnapalli, again across Arkavati to draw water, and that was also treated at
jewel filters,
and then supplied back. So piped water seemed to be sort of treated through a sort of a water treatment thing and all of it.
Yeah.
But that apart, that what even before access to the pipe water, right? People were accessing water through open wells or other boreholes and all of that.
Yeah.
Now even tanks. So if you get into tanks, right? Like historically, Bangalore, we have been known that this was place of a lot of tanks on the streets and all of that. But originally, or I think earlier, I guess even Louis Rice talks about it at some point, is that most of these tanks were built for irrigation, and because it was mostly agrarian economy, so based on that, tanks were like these structures were built for storing water and also acted as a flood control devices in that sense, or infrastructure in that sense. So, but post how city grew and all of that, a lot of tanks vanished.
Yeah.
That we've all seen through that. But I think people were also forced to access through these open water bodies that were there, and or boreholes or open wells that were there, which at times were not very clean. As in, although open well water at times it should be more cleaner, or because for whatever reason sometimes they were not. So I guess with limited affordability and all of it, that kind of posed a different challenge for.
Yeah, I mean, we had done some work around open wells and and also a lot of work around just talking to communities around these spaces and all of that. And the two things that come to mind, first one of course is the fact that a lot of people mention that access to wells and lakes was caste based, dependent on which source of water was considered more pure at a particular location. The one that was considered purer was obviously the one that higher castes could access, and the other one had to be accessed by lower caste individuals. And that's something that resonates throughout in the sense of what access to water means. But the other thing that immediately strikes me is this thing that we've just submitted this paper. It's been on hold for quite some time, and then finally worked through it and submitted it. We looked at the speeches that the divans of Mysore made and the kings made over a particular period of time, which is pretty much the 1800s to 1940s or something along those lines. No, early 1900 to 1940s or something along those lines. And there were these descriptions in there about, so one of the patterns that we saw was that cities were ranked according to importance in a certain way, in the way they were manifested or whatever, or interventions were given and so on. And one of the things that, so there was Bangalore, which was the hub of both the colonial government and the natives and the Wadiyar rulers, right? The princely state of Wadiyars. And then you had Mysore, which is the capital of the Wadiyar kingdom. And then you had other cities scattered around the place. And one thing was, of course, the king would often speak in these other cities, while the divan would speak in Bangalore or Mysore, which again reflects how important these two cities are kind of strategically placed. But the other thing that we noticed was the narratives that emerged around infrastructure promises. So in Bangalore, it was always sort of, in a way, exhibitionist, I guess, which is to say that, look, we have done all of these, we are providing you with infrastructure, we have done this and we will do something more, and you will get a timeline. So, very, very concrete promises made. And also with that thing of, look, we are as good as the cantonment, in a certain sense, that was always there. And then you had the Mysore, where it was tied with economic imaginary. So it was tied with, look, we are doing all of this and we are spending so much money on doing this. Right. And then the other cities was, please take care of your own things. And in that, I think it was Vishwesvaraya, the one Vishwesvaraya who made this statement, which was about somewhere else in some other town, they had installed bore wells, right? And so the speech was about encouraging these people to install their own bore wells because the war is going on and we cannot do anything to provide you with water. And it was that thing, that complete shift, right? So talking about how water becomes differentially accessible to people.
Correct.
And it was just, that just stood out to me. The other thing that, which is probably again a digression, but the other thing that the same speech had was a reference to the Kaveri War, which is that Tamil Nadu gets so much water and Karnataka gets so much water. The foundations for it were laid right there in those speeches.
No, so even on the water thing, right? I think when Seshadri Iyer wanted to set up this Shivsha power plant, he had to negotiate with the Madras presidency and the farmers there to make sure that there is the water sharing is done properly and all of that. So there was a negotiation that Seshadri Iyer had to do that. But it's interesting that you make note of this, and I'm kind of curious to know how, because around the same time of the First World War was when Vishwesvaraya was there as an Diwan, right? So he was also on the council of IISc, and from the archives at IISc we know that he was worried that a lot of sandalwood was getting stocked in the sandalwood depot next to Sankey Tank.
Right.
And he came to one of the institute in 1914 meetings and said, can you, because organic chemistry was one of the departments at IISc then, and he sort of challenged the faculty that, can you look at doing something there?
Sandalwood oil?
Yes. And then folks, there are publications in 1914, 15, 16 that they ended up looking at what can be done, and they came out with, okay, one can extract oil, which smells nice, and then you can also, this is how you make soaps and detergents and all of it.
Right.
So they go back to see Vishwesvaraya in 1960, and Vishwesvaraya gets them sanctions or makes sure that, sanctions and says, we'll set up a government soap factory. And that's how Mysore Sandal Soap Factory happened in 1917. I'm kind of now curious to know how did that come by when there was scarcity of funding.
It was in Bangalore.
It was in Bangalore.
It was very much in Bangalore.
And they gave the land next to the IIC, right? As in, even till date, I guess Mysore Sandal Soap Factory remains.
I mean, we do have the admin records. I should probably trawl back and see if there is mention there of these kinds of things. Because sandalwood, yes, there is a section called sandalwood. I've not paid much attention to it because there were a lot of other things that struck my eye, which is the importing of Japanese silkworms, because apparently they produce better silk or something, and how native people were like, we don't know what to do with this worm, so we're not going to use it. So documented resistance to that, and those kinds of things were the ones that caught my eye. But I think I should go back and look at the sandalwood story as well.
Yeah, I'm kind of curious to know, because in the sense when they denied water to some people, because I think it was more basic, but they agreed on setting up a Mysore Sandal Soap.
In Bangalore, anything went. I think that was the impression I got from it.
Right.
I mean, I might be making a generalized statement also, but Bangalore was clearly a place where a lot of promises were made and they were fulfilled, as opposed to smaller cities, and Bangalore and Mysore pretty much. So if there was a nexus between the two, probably that's also something that worked.
So I think, like at least from what I've kind of looked at, in the sense, it was only since the formation of the state of Karnataka, right? Bangalore's sort of political capital became Bangalore, as in until then it was like mostly Mysore, where the kings were there and all of that, or either Tipu and Srirangapatna was there.
Yeah.
Although in between, Bangalore was sort of a key place. It was mostly a center of trade. Like how if you look at India, right, Mumbai being a commercial financial center, Bangalore was like that.
Yes.
And the power was in Delhi.
I wonder if it was a setting up of the cantonment that shifted that, because the Bangalore cantonment happened, right?
Not really.
Okay.
Because in 1802, when Buchanan visited, there was a marketplace.
There was a marketplace, yes.
Yeah, and everything was being traded already. And Tipu had already, around that time.
He had passed away, yes.
Yeah, but the marketplace was there.
Yes.
So trading was happening very well in Bangalore, in the markets of Bangalore. Like, I missed mentioning that, things that were coming from Gubbi, like Varareka, coconut and betel nut and all that were coming to Bangalore market from Gubbi.
Yeah.
And while he mentions about Gubbi, he says he refers to a place called Nagara, which is no longer existent because it got submerged in the Linganmakki reservoir.
Right.
And now you have Hosnagara.
Hosnagara, right.
So there are the references to some of these places as to what products came from where and what was being traded in Bangalore and stuff like that in 1802.
Right. Yeah, there are those. Yeah, I've noticed some of those references.
Yeah. So my impression is that, or at least my understanding is that this was already a well-established commercial center. I'm sort of what we now call as a world-class city. It was already there.
Yeah.
And Bangalore has already made its mark as that, and it continues. The only thing that has happened in the last 75 years or so is that it's also both a commercial center and a political capital.
Yeah, I think that's what I was referring to when I said that, because they signed 1885. They signed the Act of Rendition, right?
81, I think.
81, yeah. It was a rendition thing.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm bad with yours. But that was when they needed a capital in the Mysore state, but they also needed to sort of, Bangalore had the Pete, which had to be natively governed.
Right.
And then therefore the establishment of the residency in the cantonment and the Pete's representation here, right? I suspect that's probably when this political capital thing happened.
Also, for some reason, Seshadri Iyer liked to live in Bangalore, and the chief secretary, right? So he's like Diwan. So and he lived in Bangalore. So he built Kumara Krupa, which is the state guest house now.
Yes.
And the area around that became Sheshadripuram.
Sheshadripuram, yes.
So because Seshadri Iyer sort of lived in Bangalore, everything, I guess, also happened to kind of move things here in terms of all administrative things ended up being here.
Yeah.
Everything else got in place. All the subsequent Diwans like to be in Bangalore.
Yeah.
Things like that.
Yeah, interesting. So the other thing that, I mean, sort of moving a little away from this part of history into another part of history, I don't think I've seen this published anywhere, but I don't know, at some point, I think you had made a presentation at some event years ago about your work on the drains of Bangalore. So the primary, secondary, tertiary drains. I don't think I've seen it published. If it's published, I'd love to see a copy of it. But I was very curious as to how that work came about, because what struck me was the way you use maps to show that there are those tiny little brains that have been subsumed.
Yeah, I can go back on that. Is that so when I started learning GIS, as in what 3 decades ago or now, so is that one of the first things that you do, or 2 decades ago, is that all of us started digitizing, georeferencing and digitizing.
Yes.
So I was in I guess third year of my engineering, and the first thing that I ended up digitizing was streams in the Kaveri basin. And so and also probably with my engineering degree, so you knew that there are these streams, stream orders, Stoller number, all of that, and first order, second order, so basic hydrology, isn't you end up having a paper on that in the engineering. But yeah, so we had that, and we were mapping that and all of it, so that was there in the back of the mind. And while looking at Bangalore, right, again with all the maps and historical maps that you see, and there was this one tank map that we came across in 1920s. You see, there were so many streams.
Yeah.
It was striking that you had all of these first order, second order streams.
Yeah.
And was kind of curious to know what has happened to them. So ended up I had an intern, Atul Rao, who kind of helped in mapping all of that, and we kind of looked up all of that, and then also pulled through what is BBMP's stormwater drain map, and looked up, and then we kind of looked up what has happened to the state of all the streams. And so it's like from a hydrology perspective, if you start looking at it, then you have these first order, second order, third order, fourth order, and higher order streams that are there. And we try to look at what has happened to them today, as in so about 10 years ago now. So, and basically looking at what has happened to them.
Yeah.
And what we discovered was more than 50% of the first order streams are lost. And then a few second order are there, and then third order and fourth order. Now, like a fourth and fifth order are the streams that you will see like Vrishabhavati.
Correct.
Right? Or the main channels that will go there. But most first, second, third orders are missing or not there. So that's something that we did, and try to look at it, as in it seemed very sort of trying to look at it. But I've kind of moved ahead of that from technical mapping, in the sense like really looking at what was the stream lengths, how much have lost, and all of that, and all of it, to kind of dig through why were they not protected.
Yeah.
As in, right? So why were they not protected? But most tanks seem to be, at least some of the tanks that were there, except those that were officially taken over, right?
Yeah.
Like,
but even remnants of those exist, right?
Yes.
Somewhere. Yeah.
yeah. So like even Miller's tank, or the Mambudi, or even Sampangi, all of them, right?
Yeah.
They were tanks, and the state had taken over, and
Exactly.
there are records on that and all of that. So there was a formal procedure to sort of something that happened and taken over. Now for the streams, interestingly, none of the first, second, third, or fourth order, like the lower order streams, are legally not notified. So if you pick up a revenue map,
Right.
in the revenue map, you will see a polygon for a survey number, saying this is survey number 123 or whatever, and all of it, or 1/2, 1/3, A, B.
Village maps also have those.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
So similarly, all these polygons, right? Land parcels are notified as polygons, and they have a particular survey number attached to it. Even for tanks, technically you have a survey number. And for streams like Raj Kalways that goes from one tank to the next tank, for larger tanks, you still show that there is this Raj Kalways, and they are excluded from these polygons.
Right.
So that part becomes legally there, so that is not part of anybody's survey number. Now, what doesn't get into the revenue records are the first, second, third orders.
Right.
So even if you had a first order, second order stream, and you own a plot, let's say like a 30 by 40 feet plot, and you have a first order stream, legally there is nothing binding you from not
Closing it up.
closing it up.
Right.
So, and what has happened in the past is that we have ended up sort of clearing it all, and then building on top of it.
Yeah.
So wherever there have been sort of depressions, you have waterlogging, because they are unable to flow through.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, for a settlement that is on a ridge,
Yes.
there is no reason for it to be flooded.
Flooded. Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
So what we have ended up doing is, on a ridge, when you have these streams that are sort of channel valleys that were there, and you have filled this up, so you're naturally creating obstructions for the flow to go, like water to pass through, and we have created these obstructions, so they will end up flooding. So that has been the case. So Yeah, I haven't really sort of published as a peer-reviewed article, but I wrote a popular article on this, like both in Prajavani and also for Citizen Matters.
Okay.
But there in Citizen Matters, I call it as we call like legally we have engineered flooding because from a legal point of view, we were not notifying the first and second order streams, and that is the primary concern.
It also links back to these discussions we were having on heritage, right? Which is Rajakaluways are considered heritage,
Yeah.
but the connections to Rajakaluways, which are what you're talking about, have been left open to being not valued in a certain sense.
True. Yeah. So also like if there's a change in sort of interaction with our larger ecosystem, right?
Yeah.
As in the agrarian system, people were still, because if you have a water channel flowing, they would try to retain it or make sure it is there or restored,
Exactly.
and use water whenever the rain falls and all of it. But post that interaction, right, when you change the land use to kind of make it residential or anything and slightly urban, whatever in the urban, right? So my interaction with that is lost. So my association with the land is very sort of materialistic or transactional, right? So in the sense, for me, I see this parcel of land as something that I can build on top of it. I don't care whether what happens to water. It's not my problem.
Exactly.
Right? Yeah. So kind of that transition has kept in, as in, so again on a different note, I call like if you look at the city today, right, with over like 1.3, close to 1.4 crore population, right? We have more than half of them who have been in the city for the last 10 years.
Yeah.
So I call them neo-citizens. As in, they're yet to be part of the city. As in, for those who have been beyond 10 years, so they at least, or at least more than that, they have a sense of place.
Yeah.
But if you ask anybody around, right, where are they from? First thing they will say is, I'm from Bijapur, or I'm from Hyderabad, I'm from Chennai, or
that's where the sense of place is
correct.
for them.
Nobody will say, although they have been living here, earning here, sending their kids to school here, all of that, they will not say, I'm from Bengaluru now.
Yeah.
So until such time, so this also goes back to my earlier work on game theory, where I used exit voice loyalty, right?
Yeah.
So the sense of belonging has to be there. Until such thing gets like a lot of, at least a significant proportion of the said residents think that this is their place.
Yeah.
You can't think of any other change or like in a positive sense.
Yeah. Fair enough. Yeah.
So it will all be very transient and transactional. The other thing with cities like this, like when I said I study this origin and evolution of cities, right? Any city, right, as in economically progressing, is always under construction. So economically, right, so there are things that are going on, and in terms of economic development, the state or the city is always trying to invest in new infrastructure. There is always be something that is going on.
Yeah.
So it is always under construction.
Yeah.
So the moment there is a collapse, that is when
the renewal
renewal happens, or could happen, or may not
happen. Yeah, true. Moving a little away from the Bangalore narrative, I think I'd like to talk a little bit about the establishment that you have, which is Gubbi Labs, which is in is it a city? It's a city, right? It's a town, of Gubbi. And the research collective that you formed there, but also the way that it engages with people outside of especially school students and things like that, outside of that city. And I was just kind of wondering, how does that work? As in, Gubbi is generally far off from most major towns in the region. So how does that work?
So
what are the challenges? What are the...
Yeah, there are challenges, but there are also, I guess now, retrospectively, I think there's been a lot of advantages as well.
Yeah.
So one, formally, since I work on the cities, right, as in I still continue working on Bangalore in that sense.
Yeah.
Or other larger cities, because on the one hand, I also still use remote sensing and satellite data to kind of look at that. But moving back to the city has kind of helped me to reduce the noise that the city gives me. As in, if I'm inside the city, I think I'll end up getting more noise of the city and bunch of things like that.
Yeah.
In all senses, as in
absolutely
the noise.
Yeah.
So being away from the city has allowed me to kind of selectively look at certain things or only focus on certain things that matter and even engage on things that matter and stuff like on the city per se.
Yeah.
The other thing, again, going back again on the Gubbi labs thing, right? So Gubbi in Kannada means house sparrow.
Yes.
And incidentally, the name of the place I'm from. And there's also an old sort of story that the place was previously called as Amaragunda.
What
And
Gunda?
Amaragunda.
Amaragunda. Okay.
Yeah. There is a temple called Amaragunda Mallikarjuna Swami temple.
Okay.
And there was a sage who was there and he was like you reading some Upanishad or something.
Yeah.
And there were two sparrows listening to it.
Yeah.
And the moment he completed it, the both of them gave away their life. There is a sort of samadhi there in that Mallikarjuna Swami temple.
Right.
After which the place got its name as Gubbi.
Gubbi. Ah, interesting.
So that's one bit of history there. But for us, right, as in being interested in cities and ecology and being a bird watcher, one of the things that you notice is are
Decline of sparrows, yes.
Yeah. So incidentally we have a map of sparrows where you can find sparrows in Bangalore.
Lovely.
But sparrows also, like again coincidentally, that are something we feel that embodies both human and environment interaction.
Yes.
So that's how the name also happened to be Gubbi. And where since I was from Gubbi, so Gubbi Labs has both those connotations to that, saying why Gubbi Labs in that sense. But being at Gubbi, it has allowed us to kind of look at multiple things. So we do look at research on cities and we also look at ecosystems at large.
Yeah.
From landscape ecology to frogs and bunch of other things. So one of our flagship events has been the Bisley Frog Watch that we have been doing since 2012 in Bisley, here Sakleshpur. And incidentally, this year we also put out all the data on GBIF. So GBIF is Global Biodiversity Information Facility. It's an open repository of biodiversity data.
Right.
So all the past observations that we have had at Bisley is also now up in the public domain. We've also been bunch of us have been also into mapping, and we use mapping to look at cities. We look at to study ecosystems at large, and consequently we've also got into OpenStreetMap, and even before bulk of this happened, like the current era of open data and open maps. I guess Gubbi was already on OpenStreetMap.
Yeah, I remember that. Yes.
As in by around 2008-10 itself, a bunch of bulk of Gubbi was on OpenStreetMap.
Yeah.
And now only you need to. So
I remember a social media post that I'm advocating for OpenStreetMap. Yes.
yeah, so OpenStreetMap is like the Wikipedia of maps.
Yes.
So and it's another open license, so anybody can use and
Yeah.
all of that. So we've been propagating that, and also on using free tools for mapping like QGIS and things like that we have been using for both academic and professional work that we do, and all of that is there.
Yeah.
That apart, I guess one of the things that while I was at IISc as well, one of the things I ended up volunteering was with this non-profit called India Literacy Project, with whom I still continue to volunteer. And back then we were looking at school dropouts and out of school children and things like that. This was around 2006, 7, 8. And I was coordinating a scholarship for them and all of that. But since I moved back to Gubbi and then we had tapered down this scholarship program, something that we started through ILP was multidimensional learning space in Gubbi, where we ended up working with schools. Initially, like we work only with government schools, so we initially 4 government schools and then 3 more aided schools in the town. The town is now about 25,000 population. It's a small town. 2011 census, it had 19,000 population. Now it could be around 25 to 30,000.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we started working with the schools there, and we've done a bunch of things around from digital curriculum to science kits to career guidance to revamping their libraries and bunch of things. And through donors, we also set up smart classes, and so all 181 schools in Gubbi Taluk has smart classes and bunch of things. We have science kits. So something that my friends at ILP have been managed to, like from 2014 and all, we kind of scaled up to the Taluk level. And by 2016-17, we were doing it at a district level. And components of it, thanks to my friends at India Literacy Project, like Pramod, Harish and bunch of them, this has been now scaled across.
Nice.
As in, So we now work in about 9 states, reaching about 30 lakh students across the country. And ILP, we have a Chennai chapter where volunteers from Chennai also take part, and we work in all 39 districts through an MOU with IIT Madras. We are working in Telangana, Andhra Pradesh, Chhattisgarh, Jharkhand. In all 7 districts of Kalyan, Karnataka, the state government bought science kits from ILP and distributed to them. As we speak, we are also working on career guidance and ICT skilling to government school students in the state, in Karnataka, through the education department.
Very nice.
So a bunch of things are going on. At the moment, I'm not involved operationally, and the team at ILP does take care of it. But there are a bunch of exciting things that are going on.
Very nice.
In fact, something that we'll talk about very soon is also we did a recent survey on why parents choose either a private or a public school, as in a government school, across all 34 education districts in the state, and we had responses from about 14,149 responses across, and we'll be putting out the results also on that. And something that we notice is that why one of the key things that parents want is, while there are a lot of things, pluses and minuses, one of the key determinants has been medium of instruction, which is English.
Yes.
And they think going to an English medium is sort of a guarantee for a better life for their children. So that's been a key differentiator.
Yeah, I mean, that's something that's been through generations. That's like when I was a child, I mean, I have that to thank for the fact that I speak good English in a certain sense while working in a Western institution, very clearly in that positionality. But I remember being so annoyed with the fact that I couldn't speak my mother tongue at home. It was a rule, I think, right up to when I was in 7th or 8th or something like that I should not speak in Malayalam at home. I had to speak in English to both my parents. Of course, it was also a way for them not to talk to, that they could carry on conversations in Malayalam with themselves. But it was that thing of, you need to be globally relevant in a certain sense.
So I guess I'm trying to challenge that narrative in a way, because my son now
goes to be challenged.
My son now goes to a government school in Kannada medium.
Lovely. Very nice.
He's in 2nd standard.
Yeah.
He's in part of this what is called as Nalikali, where you have 1st, 2nd, 3rd grade students in one room, and they learn through activity-based learning, a bunch of things, and it's a fantastic thing. The good part is the government system has it all.
Yes.
And since I've been working with them for a while, and I know how it is there, and it is very nice.
Yeah.
So I can really vouch for the Nalikali system.
Yeah.
So we've been doing a bunch of things across. So then from research to this, the other thing that we have been also, I think, we've been doing through Gubbi Labs. So Gubbi Labs, like I said, I think we have 4 verticals. One is research on cities and ecosystems. 2, we run a bunch of courses on ecology, research methods, GIS.
Yeah.
3rd is consulting and advisory. That's where we generate our revenue to do everything that we like to do.
Yeah.
And the 4th one is science communication. That's something that we also started off around 2014. And because some of us who also were at IISc and we knew what is the kind of work that IISc does, realized that IISc was not putting out anything outside to public at large. As in, everything is taxpayers' money and people ought to know what's happening.
Yeah.
And not necessarily something that would directly impact, but be in the know of what is happening.
Yeah.
Right. And so that's when we set up the Science Media Center at IISc, and we ran it till 2018 from 2014. And during the time, we also realized we were have to work with other institutions, and that's when we launched Research Matters in 2016. So researchmatters.in is our science news portal. Every day we have a news story, and mostly in English, but we also now write in Kannada, Hindi, Marathi. We also have in the past written like in Tamil, Telugu, Malayalam, Assamese, a bunch of. So we are kind of a unique science news portal in India in multiple languages.
Yeah.
And we have over 2,500 stories now.
What's the response been to that?
It's been nice. We have had good, at least viewership in that sense, and we have a sort of a captive audience there.
Yeah.
And we've also been writing into publications and all of that.
Right.
So, like if you look at like in the past, right? So of the 2,500 stories that I mentioned of, like from the releases that we have sent out and all of it, like like we have had more than 1200 media appearances based on the stories that we have released. Is in it could be similar story, but multiple, from BBC to Science or National Geographic, and all you name of any Indian media, I think they've covered one of our stories.
Yeah. And that also speaks to the reach, right? I mean, when we, again, going back to this thing of heritage and so on,
Yeah.
it speaks to the reach of the work that you're publicizing in a certain sense. So the amount of people engaging with it and all of that, right?
So most like stories that we write, like say for IIT Bombay and all, gets picked up by bunch of them, like from the Hindu to the Hindustan Times to you name it. And of course, like Deccan Herald and Prajavani have been our long time partners. So we've been writing to them like for a while, and invariably we'll have something that comes up, and so they've been carrying quite a bit.
Also very interesting because, I mean, one of the things that we have at our university is a dedicated press cell.
Yeah.
So you write to them, you say you have this work, and can you either A, find an outlet for it, or B, here are the outlets that we really like to engage with. Will you engage with them for us? Mixed success rates. But here you have something that does that job and then gets picked up by the outlets, which is like, it's a slightly different model also, right?
Yeah. So we are different. So we always say that we are not a PR agency in that sense, because we are not trying to do sort of the PR thing. But what we try to do is pick up research that is interesting, and mostly from published sources. Occasionally we do cover cover events like Infosys Prize and stuff like that. But largely bulk of our reporting has been on published research.
Nice.
So we are in this niche of science communication. We have also not strayed into science journalism, in the sense doing more deep dives, digging into it and all, which I think we are still not there yet. I mean, that's something that our team also we keep debating, and we're consciously only into science communication. That is one. Two, because there are multiple things here. One, because we have had good networks or connections in the media, people do look at like if something is being sent out from us, it has gone through, and one, in terms of content, in terms of factual correctness, and all of that, mostly
been
will
vetted,
be taken care of. Two, something that we did in the recent past is we also had this grant from the police, which is operated through London School of Economics, part of the Google News initiative, which we had won this journalism AI grant. So we also got into the AI bandwagon in a way, but we ended up looking at how you can streamline some of these things. And something that we have also come up now is what we call as a newsworthiness index. Because from India, you have about 2,500 to 3,000 papers that are published monthly. Now, as if I don my hat as an editor, right, like one of the things I do is screen papers to look at which is newsworthy, as in which one could be, right, like you could write a story of it. So now we're trying to kind of make it more replicable, and sort of we have come up with a newsworthiness index where you look at, and then sort of instead of screening 2,500, you now screen 50 to 100 stories, because they're ranked by newsworthiness.
Right.
The index that we have come up with, and try to then pick up, screen through those stories, and then say, okay, these are the stories that can go by.
Interesting.
So we've established pipeline of dissemination. We reach out through social media. We put it on our website. Our content is under CC Creative Commons license. So bunch of things, and trying to do multiple things. But we like while we are trying to do it, I still think that we have a long way to go. We haven't been able to really do much on the regional languages as much as we want to do, because that is something that we would want to eventually go on. And then also you like in the current era, right, as in how many are actually reading, right? Today we are in the age of like reels or Instagram, right? So your attention spans are 15 seconds or 30 seconds. So if I haven't told you about a story in 15 to 30 seconds, I'm lost.
You're lost, I got it.
So there are those challenges that we are also kind of confronting with, and trying to see how we should now navigate those challenges as well. But so the good part is we have our stories, and we are also seeing from our analytics that now our website is now being accessed through chatgpt.com and gemini.google.com.
Right. AI has gotten there. Got it.
As in, it's good that they are referencing us.
Yeah, exactly. Nice. But yeah, I mean, I think I can go on talking, but I think we've kind of, yeah, I think in the interest of time, I think I should stop probing you further. But is there anything that you'd like to discuss that we haven't covered
Uh,
before we close?
I guess you've covered most of it. In fact, in the interest of time, I was also curious to know what your work, as in if you could share on the comments that you did.
Yeah, I mean, largely on the lakes of Bangalore, which is what I've worked on. So it started off, of course, with the PhD, as it does with all of us. And I think some of the things that have stayed with me through that was the work that we did on the Sampangi Lake, where we traced the conversion of Sampangi Lake into the Kantirava Stadium. And through that tracing of changes, we showed how the way the lake was valued changed over time. So it started off from being more agrarian, supporting, into something that was valued for aesthetics and recreation. And eventually what the stadium looks like now is pretty much a reflection of aesthetics and recreation, right? So that was something that stayed with me. Of course, also history being a very serendipitous part of how I started working on these things, because I loved history. I've always loved history, but I'm a trained biologist. So, so I remember going to Harni's house for one of these PhD supervision things and just randomly telling her, if not for biology, I would have taken history. And very typical Harini style, she looks at me and she goes, "You like history? I like history too. Let's have history in your thesis."
Yeah, that's horrible.
And I think that was a joy working with her also, that just the fact that she lets you do these things, you know, and doesn't tell you, oh, you're bound by something. So anyways, I jumped on that. I was like, oh, I get a chance to do history. Let me do history. And so that's how that strand developed, but it's also a core of what I do as a researcher now.
Yeah.
So went on then to look at the Dharmabudhi Lake, which also initially I was just looking at the transformation of that into the Majestic bus stand, but then it turned out to be a larger story of how all the connecting lakes and their channels were decimated to basically end up in the Dharmabudhi Lake being drained eventually. So that was it's kind of links to your primary, secondary channels kind of work, but you know, it is just around Dharmabudhi Lake. There are like about 10 lakes or so, and how those channels vanished, and therefore the lakes dried up, and then Dharmabudhi died up. But also the notion of the sanitary city that went on behind it. So became a hub for malaria, it became a hub for plague and all of that. So, and how that changed the way the landscape was perceived and so on, and all the lived experiences that came out of it.
Right.
So that's some of the work that I did. And then more recently, there's also theoretical strand to my work, which is around social ecological systems and so on. So sort of looking at, it started off from the work of Bangalore itself, which is you have a lake system.
Yeah.
And if you look at the social ecological systems framework that Ostrom has, you have a resource system and multiple resource units. That's how it is conceptualized.
Right.
But if you look at the lakes here, you have a system where the resource system and the resource unit can be interchanged.
Right.
As in, a lake can be both a system as well as a unit.
Yeah.
So we were like, this is weird.
Yeah.
How can it's difficult to fit the framework onto this.
Yes.
So then we sort of started proposing the idea of nested resource systems, which addresses exactly this.
Yeah.
And then we developed with a friend of mine from Germany, which I think it also was one of the nicest collaborations that I've had. We started off as friends during COVID when mom was going through cancer, her dog was dying, a lot of things like that. And we just had these conversations where we'd cry or talk. It was one of those friendships that you don't expect to happen, but has just happened. But she's an agricultural economist.
Wow.
And so this paper that we conceptualized using nested resource systems compares literally apples and oranges. It compares the lakes of Bangalore with German winter wheat breeding systems. We, of course, worked with Harini and a professor from Dartmouth, Michael Cox, on it. But it was basically trying to show how you can apply the social ecological systems framework in a very systematic way. So asking one question of a system and then using the answer to that to diagnose the next part of the question. So I think that's also something that I've been very happy developing and so on.
Nice.
Then of course I've critiqued a bit of co-production, like there's a community. What is this thing called the community, right? We keep talking about community stakeholders and all of that. So yeah, that's some of the work that I've been involved in. More recently, I'm looking at getting into public health influences, the influence of public health interventions on social ecological systems, which are already gendered and political. So that's something that I'm...
I can kind of step back and sort of look through one of the recent book chapters I wrote on electronic city. And I note the creation of this LCITA, Electronic City Tranship Authority, and then how the transformation happened and all of it. But I guess in the end, I kind of ask, who is the citizen?
Yes, exactly.
Basically, I also note of the duality of citizenship.
Yes.
Because people who are there are only working and it is mostly like transactional.
Yes.
But the politics of housing, water, other resources are in a place of their residence, and it's something that's there. Yeah. On that note, some of my current work is also looking at institutions.
Oh, lovely.
So I'm trying to extend from what was looking at new public management. I'm kind of curious to know how the state is creating special purpose vehicles for anything and everything. You name it, as in from solid waste to transport, everything. Right? So even for the new infrastructure, they have created B-Smile, and you have BMTC, BMRCL, BWSB, and how the arguments on accountability and all of it have kind of pushed in, and how the role of elected representatives are diminished.
Right.
And primarily I have this graph that shows how the citizen is now a consumer.
So this work on co-production literally came in from that perspective, which is, I was working with Vanessa on community energy in Ethiopia, Malawi and Mozambique. And one of the things we were trying to look at was, who was this community that we are targeting? So that's kind of where that whole thing came up from. So like, is it transactional? Is it geography? Is it, proximity to services? So anyway.
And one last thing, I think in the long run, right, I guess what is critically needed here is a new Special Planning Act to kind of reimagine how we plan, because even the tools or methods that I used in 2008 cannot be applied because the Karnataka Town and Country Planning Act is not capable of handling.
Exactly.
Yeah. So I guess we've come a long way from that, and today you have hopefully better understanding and better tools, better models, even better computational resources and all of it. But I don't think we are there yet.
Yeah, true.
And to conclude, I think I will again keep quoting Batty there.
Yes.
Professor Michael Batty from UCL.
Yeah.
The more we know, the less we would want to intervene, but in meaningful ways.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thank you so much, Sudhira, for joining us. This has been great.
Thank you so much.